My GEF female 26 and mother to our 1-year-old daughter cheated me male 29 in the worst way. What would you do? I went away for a week with work. Me and my GEF have a 1-year-old daughter, so we were always in close contact, but on this most recent trip she disappeared for a day. I got a message from her in the morning saying she was going out to a city that was 1 hour away. From where we live, I already found this odd, as it wasn't normal for her. But I didn't mention it. Maybe she just wanted to explore somewhere we don't go too often. After that first message of letting me know where she was going, she stopped contact. That's fine, but it started to get late in the evening. And so I started trying to contact her again, but I was ignored. Then it got to night time and I started to really worry. I was asking my family if anyone was available to go to the city she was in and hoped to find her. Really thinking the worst and that something bad had happened, as it was so out of the ordinary not to be messaging me. Then finally, I got a message from her late, saying sorry and that she had fallen asleep. I explained to her that I had been really worried and that I need her to be better at communicating. She got really angry about it. Called me insecure and controlling for worrying and trying to have my family look for her. 2 weeks later, she confessed to me that she had been out cheating on me that day. She went to meet a boy that she had been speaking to before we met. They spent the whole day together and admitted to kissing him. She really took out 1-year-old daughter with her to cheat on me, then got angry at me for worrying where she was, while knowing full well that she was ignoring me, because she was up to no good. I heard in so many different ways. This destroys trust in 3 separate ways. I don't know what to do. I'm curious what your thoughts are and what you would do in my situation. What do you think about my GF? Is this ever forgivable? So I have pressed her further, and yes, as we all expected, I was only getting trickle truth. Now the story goes, they met for the first time, kissed, then met a second time the following week to have sex in a hotel room, while my daughter was asleep in the room next door. Most hotels around here are not double-roomed. I have told her I have 3 conditions if I am ever to forgive her. DNA test. STI test. She confesses to her mom what she has done. Of course, she is extremely agitated by this, upset, angry, etc. Realistically, it should be the end of us. I should in no way ever accept this kind of disgust that she has committed. However, I can't help but be devastated for my daughter and wish that there was some reconciliation possible, but the disrespect is foul. I still do remain confident that my daughter is mine, but I will check to be certain. She laughed when I suggested it needed to be done and cannot believe I would consider otherwise. Likely manipulation and gaslighting to make me feel paranoid, overreacting, insecure, all of the usual. She also became very sad at the idea that would do it, but agreed and also remains firmly confident that she is my daughter. The biggest problem she has, strangely to me, is the idea of STD test. And she is considering telling her mom. Her mom is very religious, godly woman. She knows it will break her mom's hearts and in turn her own. So she is hesitant and maybe will not go through with it. But it will help her to embrace to shame and realize her wrongdoing, and change to never do it again. She says she knows what I am trying to do, shame her, which is 100% correct. If there is any slither of a hope of us being together as a family, or even being close as co-parents, these 3 things must be done, and I want her to feel the shame of them all, so that she can really sit with the consequences of her actions, and then after that, I can forgive her but never forget. Story number 2. My ex-female 22 cheated on me. Male 21 with my childhood best friend, male 21. So here's my story about how I lost the love of my life C and my best friend J, all in one day. It all started when I met C in grade 5 and I had a crush on her for years, never gaining the talk to her or anything as I was just figuring out these feelings. Plus I knew I was an introvert from the beginning, barely having any real friends. Besides a small group of 4, one of them being my best friend Jay. We did everything a kid could do together, go camping. Something I didn't like but was fun with him: play video games, board games, sleepovers. All those things, and thought of him as a brother. It was he who had the courage to add her to put friend group. We grew closer as we got older. It was only in grade 9 that me and C were starting to get closer as friends during high school. When we were both in grade 10, I finally gained the courage to ask C out, and to me surprise and happiness, she said yes. Our first date was amazing as I took her out to her favorite restaurant, which wasn't really expensive but did have a big bill. Then we went skating, as she has always loved that, and that was one of the best memories I've ever had. Over next 4 years, we had the best relationship, or at least what I thought was the best. It was only during year 3 of our relationship that C wanted to go the next level, and so did I. But I was just so nervous about it that I never realized what was happening between my GF and BF until it was too late. I was also stressed from the SATs that I didn't have enough time to spend with her either. It all came to screeching halt when I not only passed my SATs. My nervous about having sex went away with the letter, and I walked to her apartment to tell her the great news. I entered the elevator to go to her floor and walked to her door when I noticed it was open slightly, and so in a panic I opened the door myself, not thinking straight and thinking she was in trouble, but found nothing. I walked around the apartment, but eventually I noticed the trail of clothes leading up to her bedroom door. If those weren't obvious, then the moans and screams of pleasure were. That was until I noticed a jacket on the ground, the very same one I gave Jay on his 18th birthday. I saw only red when I thought that, and barged into her room, where they were both shocked at my interruption, but C soon screamed in terror as I pulled Jay off of her and started beating him. I was never a violent person growing up, but this rage and betrayal turned me into someone I hope I could never be again. It's been 2 weeks since I caught Jay and C together, and I have been ignoring every message they sent me, every call and voicemail they made, and have even ignored their family's attempts at getting me to speak to them. I couldn't stand to be in the same room with them anymore. Every time I think of them, I just remember that day when I caught them. Hope you guys have any advice about what I should do next with them, 'cause I don't. Story number 3. I 32, male, was with my ex 29 female for 7 years. Engaged for 2, she moved in with a mutual friend. She was cheating on me with the night she gave me the ring back. My ex first displayed troubling behavior for years ago, not long after we first moved in together. I received a random messenger request from a stranger who told me my ex and her boyfriend had been sending inappropriate messages to each other over Discord. She provided screenshots, and it was her talking about how she felt we didn't match, how she felt like she was in a prison with me, and that if things progressed between the two of them, she'd be open to moving to a new city to live with him. I confronted her, and she gave me all the apologies, assurances, and words of affection to convince me that it was a mistake and that she truly wanted me, that we were soulmates. I believed her. Unfortunately, fast forward a few years, and we had survived COVID as a couple. We'd moved into a house together, had 3 pets together, got engaged, and had lived through a sudden, tragic death of her brother. During this time, our relationship had been pushed to its limits. We had fought a lot, but couples counseling combined with her being diagnosed with bipolar disorder and getting mood stabilizer meds had improved things significantly, to the point where fights had been non-existent for over a year. We had a close group of 3 friends: Ivan, Ben, and Vin. Ivan and Vin were brother-sister, and Ben was Ivan's best friend and was also dating his sister. Ivan had been in a relationship that was falling apart, and it ended just over a month before mine did. Not long after Ivan broke up with his partner, my ex told me that her feelings for me were changing, that it might be related to her meds, and she identified more with her unmedicated self. I was at a loss for words, but told her I'd help her work through it and we'd come out stronger. After this point is when more troubling behavior started. At Ivan's birthday, we all went to an arcade bar and then a karaoke bar, and it was a fun time. My ex told me the next day she had done a line of coke with Ivan at some point, which shocked me. My ex was a big stoner and enjoyed partaking in rave drugs like MDMA, mushrooms, acid, etc., as did our group of friends, but I had grown out of it by this point. But she had never done cocaine as far as I knew. I later learned she had been doing lines with Ivan all night behind my back. As the month progressed, she started spending a lot of time with Ivan. I was okay with this, as we had all been friends and in a friend group for 5 years. And my ex had many male friendships, and it was never an issue. This time, though, it felt different. She was messaging him all the time, hiding her phone from me, etc. And the big red flag was when told me she was going out for drinks with friends after her work, but then ghosted me and showed up at our home late the next morning, telling me she had spent the night at Ivan's talking and chilling. I confronted her and received the same assurances I had a few years ago. She loved me and only me, we were soulmates, etc. A week or two later, we had made plans for a romantic evening after she finished her shift, but she messaged me that she was going to Ivan's instead to make a fancy dinner to bring home, and she didn't get home until long past midnight. At this point, I was livid, but all I got was gaslighting. I didn't trust her, I was being jealous, selfish, didn't believe that she loved me. All the classic stuff. I accepted it, again thinking the 5-year friendship bond and 7-year relationship bond were proof that maybe she was right. A week later, she seemed off. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me she didn't love me anymore, the wedding was off, and that she was going to spend the night at Ben and Vin's place. So I could have space and start packing up my stuff. That was the last time I spoke to her in person. The following days, numerous things occurred that suggested something stunk, and so I asked her where she was, what she was doing. She told she was at Ivan's, and that she's an adult and has her reasons. At this point, I reached out to Ben and Vin to ask what was going on, as I felt I was being lied to. Ben came over minutes after I contacted him to tell me everything. According to Ben and Vin later, the day my ex told me her feelings for me were changing. She had also told the same thing to them, but added at the end, and I have feelings for Ivan. The fact that my ex kept hanging out with Ivan made them feel uncomfortable, but they were at a loss of what to do because of the friendship, family bonds. However, a week before things ended, we had all gone to a show together, and I went home to take care of the dog, while my ex, Ivan, and Vin spent the night at Ivan's place. Vin woke up at one point and saw my ex and Ivan spooning and moving around beneath a blanket nearby. At that point, Vin and Ben gave Ivan an ultimatum that he had to end whatever was going on or they'd tell me. Ivan told my ex to either dump me or stop talking to him, and my ex dumped me the next day and moved in with Ivan, while telling me she was going to stay at Ben and Vin's. A day or two later, she told Vin that her and Ivan were now dating. After that confession, Ben blocked my ex and Vin told her their friendship was over. I messaged my ex shortly after learning all of this and told her I knew everything. She denied cheating and used the same "I'm an adult and made adult decisions" excuse when I asked how it's possible there was no cheating. When she moved in with Ivan the night, she gave me the ring back and then told Vin that they were now a couple. This all happened 3 months ago, and despite the pain and suffering I endured, I am at peace knowing I dodged a bullet, and that had it not happened now, it could have happened years down the road with a marriage, kids to sort out. To this day, I still have not spoken to or heard from my ex, although Ben and Vin still talk to me and say they also haven't spoken to her or Ivan either.